What if I told you that your body isn't protected by your immune system? Now, before you click away, hear me out, because the truth is this: your immune system is often the last line of defense. Your first line of defense is something far more remarkable. It's a collection of microscopic cells that spend every second of your life deciding what gets in and what stays out. Every breath you take, every mouthful of food, every drop of water, every bacterium, every virus, toxin, and before any of these reach your organs, they must first negotiate with an army of specialised cells that act as living barriers. These cells don't simply block things like a brick wall. They inspect, they communicate, repair themselves, and even call for reinforcements when they're under attack. Today, I want to make you an expert in your own body by introducing you to the unsung heroes of human health, your barrier cells. And if being an expert in your own body is of interest, please subscribe. When most people think of cells, they imagine tiny blobs floating around inside the body, but cells have careers. Some become muscle cells or nerve cells or bone. Some make hormones or carry oxygen, and some have perhaps the most important job of all: they stand between you and the outside world. In fact, your body is surrounded by barriers. Your skin is a barrier, your lungs are lined with barriers, your intestines are barriers, your blood vessels are barriers. Even your brain has one of the most selective barriers ever evolved. These barriers are built from different types of cells, each perfectly designed for its own environment. The first group I'm going to introduce you to are epithelial cells. These are the cells that line almost every surface exposed to the outside world: your mouth, stomach, intestines, lungs, bladder, and skin. They are your body's border control. Let's take the small intestine. People often imagine food entering the body the moment they swallow it, but anatomically that's completely wrong. The inside of your intestine is technically still the outside of your body. Only once nutrients cross the epithelial cells do they officially become part of you. Now think about that. Everything you've ever eaten has had to ask permission before entering your bloodstream. Sugars come through, amino acids welcome, fats no problem. Large bacteria, absolutely not. Viruses, rejected. Large toxins, stopped. This is one of our biology's greatest security systems. Next up is tight junctions. These are the zips between cells. Now, here's something even more impressive. Epithelial cells don't leave gaps between themselves. They're joined together by tiny protein structures called tight junctions, which I've discussed before in previous videos. Imagine zipping together a waterproof jacket. Each tooth of the zip locks perfectly into the next. That's essentially what tight junction proteins do. Without them, unwanted material could simply leak between neighbouring cells. Instead, almost everything must pass through the epithelial cells, where it can be carefully inspected. These tight junctions are not fixed. They're dynamic. They tighten, they loosen slightly or a little bit wider when appropriate, and they repair themselves. They constantly respond to the environment around them. Here's something most people don't realise. Barrier cells are not silent. They are constantly communicating. When epithelial cells detect harmful bacteria, they release signalling molecules called cytokines and also chemokines. These are essentially emergency text messages. Nearby immune cells receive the message, blood vessels respond, white blood vessels are recruited in the bone marrow, and repair mechanisms begin. In other words, epithelial cells don't just block invaders, they coordinate the body's response. Next up is goblet cells, aka the mucus makers. Among the epithelial cells are specialists called goblet cells, and their job is beautifully simple. They manufacture mucus. Now, mucus doesn't sound particularly glamorous, but without it we'd be in serious trouble. The mucus layer covering your large intestine in particular acts like a protective cushion because it keeps millions of bacteria at a safe distance from the epithelial surface. Next up is Paneth cells. Deep within the small intestine live another remarkable cell called the Paneth cell. Think of these as the elite security guards. When dangerous bacteria venture too close, Paneth cells release antimicrobial peptides, natural antibiotics, produced by your own body. These chemicals kill harmful microbes before they become a problem. It's targeted defense without needing your entire immune system to become activated. Next up, endothelial cells, the gatekeepers of your bloodstream. Now let's move inside your body. Every artery, every vein, every capillary, tens of thousands of miles of them are all lined with another extraordinary cell, the endothelial cell. These cells form the lining of your blood vessels, and for decades scientists thought they were simply wallpaper. We now know they're one of the busiest tissues in the human body. Endothelial cells regulate blood flow. They control blood pressure by releasing substances such as nitric oxide that tell blood vessels when to relax. They decide which immune cells are allowed to leave the bloodstream and enter surrounding tissues, and they help prevent unwanted clotting while remaining ready to stop bleeding when you're injured. And they sense changes in blood flow, oxygen levels, and inflammation. In short, they act as intelligent gatekeepers of your circulation. Next up is the blood-brain barrier. Perhaps the most astonishing example of endothelial cells is found in your brain. The blood-brain barrier is built largely from highly specialised endothelial cells joined by exceptionally tight junctions. Your brain cannot afford to let just anything enter. Many substances circulating harmlessly in your bloodstream are refused entry. Some medications struggle to cross. Many bacteria cannot cross. Numerous toxins are excluded. It's one of the most selective security systems in nature because your brain demands the very highest level of protection. Next up, mesothelial cells. There's another barrier cell that rarely receives any attention, the mesothelial cell. These cells line the outside of many of your organs, the lungs, heart, abdominal organs, for example. They produce a slippery fluid that allows organs to glide over one another without friction. Every breath you take, every heartbeat, every movement, these cells quietly prevent organs from rubbing themselves raw. Most people have never heard of them, yet we depend on them every second of every day for the whole of our lives. A living wall, perhaps. Perhaps the most remarkable thing about all these barrier cells is that they are alive. They're constantly changing. They divide, they die, they replace themselves, they communicate, they sense danger, they repair injury, they adapt to changing conditions. Your intestinal epithelial cells replace themselves roughly every 3 to 5 days. Your blood vessel lining continuously repairs tiny areas of damage, and your skin renews itself month after month. These barriers are constantly rebuilding while trying to and continuing to protect you. Imagine rebuilding a castle wall while simultaneously defending it from attack. That is what your barrier cells accomplish every day. And when barrier cells fail, like any security system, they can become compromised. The mucus layer may thin, tight junctions may become less effective, endothelial cells may become inflamed or dysfunctional, protective signalling can become disturbed. When that happens, substances that should remain separated may interact in ways they normally wouldn't. The immune system often responds appropriately to restore order. If these challenges become persistent, prolonged inflammation may contribute to disease processes. However, it's important to recognise that barrier dysfunction is only one piece of a much larger picture. Genetics, infections, autoimmune conditions, smoking, poor sleep, excess visceral fat, chronic stress and other lifestyle and environmental factors also play important roles, and there's a link below to my other videos that have discussed this. Healthy barriers don't replace a healthy immune system, they work alongside it. Together they maintain the delicate balance that keeps us healthy. And to conclude, when we think about health, we often focus on organs, the heart, liver, lungs, brain, and so forth. But perhaps we've been looking in the wrong place, because before any organ can function properly, it has to be protected. And that protection comes from cells that most people will never hear about. Epithelial cells guarding your gut and lungs. Goblet cells laying down protective mucus. Paneth cells producing natural antibiotics. Endothelial cells controlling the gateway to your bloodstream. Mesothelial cells allowing your organs to move effortlessly, each one performing millions of microscopic decisions every single second of your life. The remarkable truth is that your body isn't simply built from cells, it's defended by them, and maybe that's the biggest lesson of all. Health isn't just about what you eat or how much you exercise or what supplements you take. It's about protecting the extraordinary cellular barriers that have spent your entire life protecting you. Because every healthy cell is standing guard every second, minute, every day, and every year for the whole of your life. Quietly deciding what belongs inside of you and what never gets the chance.